This is the video you're going to wish that you'd seen 10 years ago because I'm about to break down for you the exact steps that can take you from your 1.0 self to your 2.0 self. And if you're a radical high achiever like me, your 10.0 self in record time. And yes, even if you've tried every single thing under the sun before, because maybe you're like a lot of high achieving people and you might be stuck in that personal development hamster wheel for a minute. And you might even be trained like an elite athlete of the personal development world. And while that may have gotten you some sick quads, it might not have gotten you some real sustainable, lasting results. Because the sad truth is that most people are just skimming the surface of what it really takes to create lasting and sustainable change. Because most videos will glorify and emphasize the end result. They kind of downplay what it actually takes to get there. They teach the surface level transformation, quick wins, and quick hits, but not the actual deep work or the deep excavation that needs to happen in order to make it sustained. So no wonder you or most people feel like even if you have success, it's short-lived. And if you do this work long enough, you might have seen enough wins, but enough setbacks that it kind of affects your faith. And this is usually when you start feeling like hope leads to hurt, right? Like dreaming actually just hurts you because you never get there. So whether or not you're just getting started on this path, and if you are, oh my God, get excited because I'm 45 now and I would have given my left arm for what I'm about to teach you. But if you're like me and you've been at this for a while, I promise you that this can be the defining moment where everything changes for you. Because in this video, I'm not going to just throw at you some motivational hype or some intangible, just align with the forces of the universe stuff. Here's a few facts about me that I think will help you see whether or not this video is for you. Number one, I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. I believe in energy and quantum physics and miracles, but I also believe in science. And most importantly, I believe in results. And not just results, but like sustained, lasting results and how you can literally rearrange your reality for good. So in this video and on this channel, we don't just talk about how to create a flash in the pan moment. We create results that will literally change the trajectory of your life and you from the inside out. The kind of results that will heal generational wounds for centuries to come. The kind of results that build legacy, not just personal legacy, but global legacy. So if you're an impact-driven person, a heart-led person, the kind of person who, like me, isn't just concerned with themselves, but with how their life impacts others, then stick around. Because I'm about to break down for you the science behind reinvention and sustained change in a practical, tactical, and tangible way. You're going to walk away with a repeatable system for free to upgrade yourself, and by virtue of that, your life on repeat. These are things that you can actually do in the next 90 days to not just become unrecognizable to the world around you, but most importantly, to yourself. This is a complete 90-day sequence that I call the activation arc. It's the culmination of over 3 decades of experimentation and application. And yes, I meant decades. I'm 45 now, but I started reading and studying personal development at age 10. I started studying Tony Robbins, Louise Hay, How to Change Your Life, Wayne Dyer, and this was when most kids were reading Nancy Drew. In high school, I moved on to start learning about the holographic theory. And at 25, I actually did a vow of silence in Thailand, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So when I say that this is a culmination of decades, and I'm just scratching the surface of immersive, deep dives, and literally walking through the fire, I mean it. In fact, I joke with my friends that I've risen from the ashes so many times, I literally give new meaning to the name Ashley, which is my name. But all kidding aside, if this resonates with you, then hit that subscribe button because this is just the beginning of our deep dive into your new reality. And if you're already a part of my free 90-day activation arc, this video is going to walk you through the ascension towards your next level and the reason behind it. It also aligns with the workbook and the gamified tracker. And if you're not yet signed up, oh my God, what are you waiting for? Get in there now. Just hit the link in the description. And on the other side of that yes button, it's a plethora of personal development gold, I can promise you. It includes workbooks and meditations and videos that you won't find here or anywhere else. And most importantly, it includes a community that I've built over the last decade of incredible heart-centered humans and the most amazing people you've ever met. There's literally $1,000 worth of training here for free, and not in some like inflated marketing hype kind of way, but it like legit way. And at the time of filming this, it's still 100% for free. So you just want to make sure that you get in there. Don't worry if this feels like a lot. I know I talk super duper Ashley Cooper fast, but if you could just focus on one shift today, you can save this video and come back for it. So before we get into it, if you're wondering what kind of results I've gotten from applying this, because I myself am a Sally skeptic, so here's a super duper Ashley Cooper quick recap of just some of the results I've gotten. And if you don't want to listen to that, you can just skip to the training. I've got all of the timestamps below. There is honestly no limit to the kind of transformation and reinvention that I've had at so many levels and layers of my life. At the age of 35, I had left an extremely toxic relationship. And with it, the business that I had built for 5 years, I had literally poured my heart, my soul, and my being into. And I had left the country that I had called home and the people I had called family. And it was like leaving an identity, honestly. And I bought a one-way ticket to Canada, where I'm from. And I still viscerally remember going to the dollar store and bawling my eyes out in aisle 5 because nothing was $1 as a 35-year-old woman, you know? And that was a defining point in my life. And it wasn't easy. I'm not going to tell you it was. But I did it. And they literally had no idea how I was making the next month's rent. And I was staying in a really crummy apartment. Someone had been shot in the head like the day before when I moved in. It was crazy. And within 30 days, I'd made my first 10K month on a new business. Within 90 days, I had filled out a retreat in Bali. I had never even been to Bali before. And within that year, I had spoken on stages all over the world, including like workshops in Stockholm, New York, Los Angeles. I spoke on a stage that Amy Porterfield was speaking on. And it was just incredible. And in that year, I built a multiple six-figure business. And the second time, I was starting from scratch again because I had dealt with so much burnout from having done so much before. And I had taken a couple of years off. And I put myself back to the test. And with barely any email list, with 100% organic traffic, and with no one really remembering who I was, in 30 days, I made $140,000. So not just saying it, I'm living it, I'm breathing it, and I'm inviting you to come along on the journey with me. So let's get into the actual training, and thank you for witnessing my story. I'm just interrupting this video for a super duper Ashley Cooper quick second to offer you something that's never going to cost you a penny and that will literally transform your life. Why? Because I created Made for Millions, the very first ever 100% brand funded educational platform for entrepreneurs. That means that you can get 100% free entrepreneurial education, zero fluff, zero BS, zero gatekeeping, zero payment ever, 100% for free. Our goal is to help 1 million heart-centered, impact-driven entrepreneurs hit the 7-figure mark by 2030. And so if this is you, all you need to do is click the link below that says Made for Millions. You're going to get access to a host and an epic amount of free training, as well as an incredible community that's already racking up to the thousands. So with that being said, let's get back into your regular scheduled programming. All right, so now that's out of the way, let's shift gears into how this actually can play out in your real life. You're here because you got super amped about the idea of becoming your next level self in record time, right? But we're not surface level people, are we? You think deeply, you feel deeply. If you're like me, you probably analyze deeply too. So if we're going to talk about real sustained change, I wouldn't be serving you by just giving you fluff about affirmations or positive thinking and just vibrating into a new stratosphere. But let's just say this about all of these things. I actually think that they're real and they work. I'm actually not downplaying them. But we're talking about excavation, right? Becoming a new self. And surface level change won't cut it, right? Saying affirmations, I've said this for years, but saying affirmations while avoiding your deeper patterns is like building a mansion on a pile of manure, right? It might be beautiful, but eventually the crap is going to rise and it stinks. So before we can even talk about becoming your high self, we have to look at your internal poop, right? Ashley Cooper, the super pooper. So now let's talk about your identity and how it shapes the very results you get in your life. Because most people think transformation starts with changing your habits or your behaviors, but your habits are actually just a byproduct of your deeper commitment. They naturally evolve, right? They're the building blocks. They're not the foundation. They're not what will actually rewire your life and your internal worlds. And you're not here because you have surface level goals, right? You want internal freedom, the kind of freedom that feels grounded, even in the chaos, right? Your peace doesn't depend on your bank account. You have power that's not shaken by your outside circumstances. Because the unglamorous truth is that money will buy you happiness. You know that, right? Like relationships aren't guaranteed to bring you automatic peace, and fame isn't going to bring you some internal fortune. And if you don't believe me, just go search YouTube. There are thousands upon thousands of memorable but miserable addicted celebrities, billionaires in depression, or people who feel like they had it all but feel empty inside. And like, even think about that quote, what is it? More money, more problems, right? So as we continue, let's keep this in mind, because I can give you every single tool in the world, but without the internal excavation, your external success is always going to feel like it's built on a shaky, poopy foundation. So let's move into your identity loop and how you can actually break it. It's the truth. We all have access to infinite versions of ourselves. But for every version you can become, you can also descend to a lower one. And often that descent doesn't happen overnight. It usually happens slowly and gradually. A bad week might become a bad month. A setback becomes a bad story. A fear becomes your identity. And even though it doesn't reflect your power or potential, you get tunnel vision on what's possible. And this can even happen when something good happens. Yes, I'm literally in over 15 years of helping people overcome self-sabotage to become successful. And I had seen more often than not that success is something we actually fear even more than failure, especially at higher levels, because it's boring, because it challenges every single damn belief we have about our worth, and about even a basic level, it bumps up against the identity that we've created. And even if it's one that you don't want, it's still familiar. And maybe you've even experienced this. You're bebopping around life, taking action, doing your best, giving it everything you've got. But for some reason, and all of a sudden, every single time you get results, something happens. It could be something big. It could be something tiny. But no matter what, you keep hitting that invisible ceiling. And why? Because you've unconsciously built a cap around what you believe is possible. In fact, studies show that by 7 years old, we've already created a subconscious barometer for our success. Here's how happy I'm allowed to be in relationships, in health, in wealth, in spirituality. And so despite your hard work, you're quite literally living inside a self-hosted glass box of potential. And that's not failure. That's just your current operating system doing its job, keeping you safe, right? Keeping you within the confines of whatever your 1.0 identity is. And psychologists call this upper limiting. And you're literally self-sabotaging every single time you reach that limit, especially for those of us who are high achievers, looking for transformation, constantly trying to achieve and challenging the boundaries of who we think we are, right? And if you do that cycle long enough, you start to believe that it's who you are and that maybe you're not meant for more, right? You keep hitting that level and that your dream was too big or that you're cursed. And like, it's literally someone who's been there more than once. It's not your fault. You've just been oscillating between your current identity and a lower vibrational frequency and version of yourself. And you need to be able to retrain your nervous system and your subconscious mind to get on board with whoever you want your new you to be. Because if you don't register it as being safe, no matter how badly you want it, Before you know it, you're going to be back at square one, and hopefully this time with less hope, or with everything you've ever wanted, but you're the most miserable person you know, and it happens, right? So by now you're probably like, okay, great, Ashley, I'm doomed and destined to live in a never-ending loop and a glass ceiling of potential. But you're not, and I promise you that, right? So as someone who's reinvented themselves every decade, and I'm 45, you just need to clear out the proverbial crap, right? You need to learn how to shift yourself from the 1.0 to the 2.0. But before we continue, let me ask if you're liking this training, and just let me know in the comments while you're at it, and hit the subscribe button. It helps in two really important ways. Number one, you're going to get notified on my next level training, which is literally going to blow your mind. And it's also going to help me see that I'm doing a good job. And it will also help others find this training as well, so that they don't waste more time on surface level stuff. So moving on, how do you go from your 1.0 to even your 10.0 self? But before we do this, let me ask you, what do you think is the common denominator between your 10.0, 1.0, and 2.0 self? Or even your 0.5 self, right? Because this common denominator, let me know in the comments below, can unlock your future success. Because despite everything, all of your future selves and past selves and up and down selves all have three specific things in common. They all have thoughts, feelings, and belief. And your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs will dictate your reality. So I guarantee the way you think, feel, and believe as your highest version of yourself is nowhere near where you are right now. And that same goes for your operating system if you're at a less desirable identity. And I don't need to tell you this because you've probably experienced it. You work really, really hard to create a result in your life, and your thoughts literally change. Maybe you go on a diet, you quit drinking, you quit smoking, you give something up. You're literally changing something radical, and all of a sudden you look back 5 years later at your past self and you're like, ew, I can't even believe I used to do that, right? And simultaneously, anyone who's suffered depression or anxiety, like me, can tell you that your external reality could be the most incredible thing on the planet, but if your thoughts or your feelings aren't on board, it doesn't even matter. And from this place, either new positive habits or circumstances or chemical imbalances, this can literally impact the reality you create from this place, right? The decisions you make, the actions you take, or you don't. And this is exactly what Newton talks about in this third law. To every single action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which is the same is true as every action you take, there's a result, right? So let's take a second to reverse engineer all of this. Because we know that our actions lead to results, and we know that our thoughts, feelings, and belief affect our actions, and we also know that our potential identities, no matter what self it is, have specific thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. What does this tell us? It tells us that if we want to create lasting, fun, and sustained change and a new reality, we need to create a new identity. Now, in the activation arc workbook below that you can get for free, I ask you questions, right, that are going to guide you from the goals you have, and based on that, the identity you need to create, and what thoughts and feelings and beliefs you need to embody, and exactly how you can do that for 90 days for sustained and radical transformation. Because here's the thing, if you think you're going to be the same person when you achieve your goals as you are right now, I'm telling you, you need to start dreaming bigger. Period, right? You're just not dreaming big enough. And if you're trying to create a new reality based on old programming, you're literally building a mansion of a pile of crap, and you're wondering why your life stinks. So if you want to stop living in a loop, you need to create a new one. You need to stop reacting to your life as it seems, and you need to start responding to it as though you've already achieved it. And every single thing on your path, whether good or bad, you need to assume that it's there to help you, period, end of sentence. And that's why inside the activation arc, I have a three-part activation sequence where we deep dive in this. And I have another video on this where I go even deeper. But in order to get sustained change, you need to activate, number one, a new identity. Who are you in the world, right? How anchored are you to your future version of yourself? Because
there's a direct correlation between how much time you spend in your life with your new feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. Because if you do it as operating from your future self, everything is going to shift for you. This isn't just metaphysical, it's practical, right? You need to have that direction, that anchor in your future, knowing what that identity is and operating at it from every single perspective of your life as much as you possibly can, right? Because if you don't excavate that and you just say affirmations or do whatever, you're literally just building a mansion on crap. So number 2 is to activate your vision. And there's science behind this. And I actually have another video entirely, which I break down my 7-card visions method, which you can get as a part of the activation sequence or by subscribing to this channel. But actually, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, right? And I'm not talking about just visualizing and sitting in a cave and waiting for $1 million to like drop in the sky. I'm talking about like actual visualization, because when you do it properly, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways and your nervous system to accept success, not sabotage. And finally, the part 3, the activation part 3 is action, because without it, and no matter what the grifters are telling you, right, you just need to see it in your mind and believe it for it to be real. And yeah, as much as we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we're still human, right? And like our human reality requires our participation. So in our work below, you're going to see that I'm going to walk you through a series of questions that are going to help you choose which actions to take based on your future reality and how to gamify it. Like literally how to make your life a video game, which I actually have another video on as well. So I don't know about you, but I'm like ADHD, need a good dopamine hit. If it's not fun, transformative, or rewarding, I'm going to find a way to not do it. And I'm going to double down on that, right? So the system I created is all about creating dopamine hits and rewards and tracking your progress. Because as I always say, a lot of us are like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Well, what's the difference between someone who says it and someone who actually does it? Because today is the tomorrow you spoke about yesterday. And when is it you're going to actually take action? When is it you're going to actually proclaim that your life is going to change? And I know, like, if you're like me, you've done a billion things, you've done everything under the sun, and maybe you haven't seen results, but you're still here because you have hope, right? Or maybe you're just starting out and you're lucky and you're just getting the video that's going to shift things without all of the hard work. But the fact of the matter is, today is the tomorrow you spoke about yesterday. Now is the time to change. But things only change if you change them. You are only going to have sustained and lasting change as much as you sustain and last the change. You will only be as successful as your ability to have grit, resilience, perseverance, and make the assumptions that everything is happening for you, not to you in life. And the activation arc is your opportunity to do that. Amongst a community of high-achieving, part-centered, impact-driven people. Again, I've been doing this for decades. Everyone, I'm sure, thinks this, but I really do have one of the best communities. We really do have one of the best communities on the internet, I believe, if you are a heart-centered, impact-driven person who operates from logic as well as, emotion and feeling. And so you have two choices moving forward. You can go after this video and check out another YouTube video on how to change your life and keep going down the rabbit hole of learning and not doing. Or you can comment below and let us know what your commitment to change is. State your claim, own your commitment, and then once you're done, celebrate 3 other people in the comments. Why is that? Well, because number 1, it doesn't just feel good to share. It doesn't just solidify, right? Because it's one thing to make a decision in your mind. It's another thing to stake a claim and say it out loud and have other people witness it. But isn't it nice to be celebrated? And I think that's one of the best things about our community is that we celebrate each other, right? It's not just about making life better for us, but it's about making the world better. It's about making the world better for each other and to celebrate each other and create community, right? Because this journey can be lonely. And with the right community, we can make the impossible possible. And so if you're on board, make sure to download the workbook below if you haven't already. And even if you have, comment below, let us know. this is the day, because you can come back to this video in 90 days and save it so that you can. And you can literally celebrate your success. And this activation arc isn't something you do once, it's something that you can do every single 90 days. You can enjoy and sustained transformation over time. But the reason why I did it in 90-day sprints is because it gives you the ability and the capacity. It's long enough to like see a transformation and work towards one, but then you get to stop and celebrate every 90 days and be like, whoa, like look at how far I came. And like you can pump up your tires and you go a little bit further, right? So make sure to comment below. Let us know your commitment. Make sure to come back in 90 days and let us know what was transformed, because I don't know about you, but I watch these videos and I'll read the comments. So make sure that you comment below and make sure to subscribe, because at the end of the day, I hope you subscribe because I do videos like this all the time. And this is just scratching the surface of the kind of work we're going to do together. But it also helps the channel a lot too, because this channel is really about helping people transform their lives for free to have radical transformational success at not just a surface level, but at a DNA generational level. And when you hit that subscribe button, you're not just, telling me that I'm doing a good job, but you're also telling the algorithm that I'm doing a good job, and they'll show this video to more people, and I would deeply, deeply appreciate it. And otherwise, I really appreciate you watching this whole video. I know that like 99% of people don't watch videos in full. And so just by virtue of that, I know that you're the kind of person that's going to get results because you're like me. I usually do this and I'll watch a video to the free full disguise and I'm going to take you now it's like applying and doing the whole thing, right? So I do appreciate you if you're still watching this. And if you don't know me, my name is Super Duper Ashley Cooper. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to spend this time with me. And I hope you have a super duper fabulous day. And I think YouTube thinks that you should check out this video next.